out a lot about what's going on with your latest work. So, good morning again, Dr. Kanjuku.
Well, good morning. And the latest book is Understanding Black Male Learning Styles, and it's an important subject for me primarily because 80% of African American children that are in special education are male children, and even for white children, there's a 2-to-1 ratio. So 66% of white children in special ed are male children. And I'm just real concerned that our predominantly large female teaching staff has designed a female classroom for large numbers of male students. I don't think there's anything wrong with boys. I think there's something wrong with the pedagogy in our classrooms that we need to address.
So, why in particular do Black boys seem to struggle with some of these traditional approaches in classroom?
Well, in this particular book, what we're looking at is that, unfortunately, 80 to 90% of teachers' lesson plans are left brain and primarily visual print, meaning textbooks and ditto sheets. Right. Now, I was taught that you don't teach the way you want to teach, you teach the way your children learn. And I would recommend that every teacher and every parent, because we have to bring parents in on this one as well, but in this case, the teachers need to assess and ascertain at the beginning of the school year what percent of their students are left brain learners, are right brain learners, visual print, visual pictures, oral learners, kinesthetic learners, tactile learners, and then have the lesson plans be congruent with the representation of the student's learning style. You know, if 80% of your students are right brain learners, why would you give them lesson plans that are 90% left brain?
And I think that, you mentioned the learning styles that you cover in your book. I'm not sure everyone is familiar with all of the styles, but you mentioned kinesthetic learning. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
Well, these are learners that learn best by movement, by activity. And unfortunately, Linda, and in the book on page 31, we give a cynical analysis of this, that for some teachers, the ideal classroom is one where a student can sit still for long periods of time, working by themselves, quietly, on a ditto sheet that says Columbus discovered America.
Okay.
Now, for a kinesthetic learner who learns best by movement, unfortunately, only 8% of America's schools offer PE on a daily basis. I mean, literally, Mark and Glenn, we can reduce special ed if we simply increase PE to make it on a daily basis. But there are now schools being built with no not just gymnasiums, but in terms of the section outside of the classroom, the playground. I mean, there are schools in Georgia that are now being built without playgrounds. I mean, in the book, we looked at about 58 studies that showed a correlation that if you increase PE, you increase academic achievement. In the book, we point out that the two learning styles that are most ignored are tactile learners, which are learners that really need to touch the object, need to be able to feel it, and those learners that require movement. And unfortunately, large numbers of African American males are tactile and kinesthetic learners.
So the impact of this, not of ignoring the learning styles, that plays out in the Black male's ability to be successful in the classroom.
Well, no question. I mean, two of the most important stats that were released just recently, Linda, only 12% of African American boys on grade level in reading and math. Only 12%. Now, in my opinion, and there's a lot of research to support this, that reading is the precursor for special education, the precursor for the dropout rate, and for incarceration. So if we don't teach Black boys how to read, there's an 80% chance they're going into special ed, an 85% chance they're going to drop out, and a 90% chance they'll be incarcerated. So we must teach boys how to read. The problem, though, Linda, going back to learning styles, is that girls mature faster than boys. So most schools want to teach reading as early as kindergarten to second grade. Now that can work for some children, but not all boys are ready to read between kindergarten and second grade. There's nothing wrong with the boy. We simply have not allowed for a maturation difference.
Now, does your book, Dr. Kunjufu, go into, showing some strategies for how to actually use the learning styles effectively?
Yes, there's a chapter on not only learning styles, but also a chapter on gender differences. Because I think another problem is that most teachers, when they were in college, or students, when they were in college, were never given a course in male learning styles or black male learning styles. And I think that's really an unfortunate reality, that we have such a large number of teachers who really do not understand male learning styles. For example, if you know that boys have a shorter attention span, then you should shorten the lesson. Amen. If you know that boys have a higher energy level, then you should allow more movement. If you know that boys mature slower than girls, then allow for a maturation difference. Mm-hmm. Linda, it's gotten so bad in Detroit and nationwide that there are now boys failing kindergarten. I mean, how do you fail a class you just got in?
Mm-mm. We touched on a little bit earlier, we were talking on the show about the numbers of black men that are educators that are in the classroom. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, would that have an impact on some of the use of the learning styles?
Well, no question, in Detroit is better than most, but nationwide, 83% of America's school teachers are white and female. Only 6% of America's teachers are African American, and only 1% are African American male. So it's possible, even in Detroit, that a black boy could go K3, maybe K6, and not experience a black male teacher. In the book, we mentioned programs like Call Me Mister. This is a program where they give scholarships to African American male students, and they bring in consultants like myself to nurture these young men who are pursuing a degree in education. Because we really need to increase the number of African American males who want to become classroom teachers, and preferably in the elementary grades. And as you know, Mark and Glenn, the most critical grade is fourth grade.
Absolutely. You have a chapter in your book that I found really interesting. In the book, again, it's called Understanding Black Male Learning Styles. But there's a chapter, Dr. Kunjufu, that you call Who Wants to Teach African American Males, where you talk about combat pay. Say a little bit about that.
Well, it's sad, unfortunately, Linda, in many cities, again, Detroit is not, hopefully not one of them, but in many cities, school districts literally are trying to increase the salaries for teachers to work in inner city schools, especially in what they call dropout factories. In my earlier book, Reducing the Black Male Dropout Rate, we point out that there's about 2,000 schools in America that literally produce 80% of the African American male dropout rate. And so to attract teachers to those schools and schools similar to those, they are increasing the salaries, and they're calling that combat pay. I think that it's unfortunate that we have a society where large numbers of educators are simply incompetent. I mean, 40% of the teachers who are supposedly teaching math or science are not certified in those subjects. They never majored in math or science. But to go further, it is very difficult, because of strong unions, for a superintendent to rid themselves of ineffective teachers. It takes almost $100,000 for a superintendent or a school district with regards to litigation to remove an ineffective teacher. And if you're in a city like Detroit that is economically strapped, we don't have those kind of resources to go to court to remove those kinds of teachers. There are 5 types of teachers. There are custodians, These are teachers who graduated 30 years ago using the same lesson plans 30 years later. We have referral agents. 20% of the teachers are making 80% of the referrals in the special education. We have instructors. These are the ones that believe they teach subjects, not teaching, not students. Then we have teachers who understand children's learning styles. Then we have coaches who not only understand subject matter, learning styles, but they bond with our students. But Linda, as much as I'm an advocate of African American male teachers, now that we are the president of the United States, we're the governor of 2 states, we were the senator of Illinois, we're the mayor of most major cities, we're the superintendent of most school districts, we're principals everywhere, but it doesn't mean that things have significantly changed for African American students. So it's not just a race issue, it's a class issue.
And that's a wonderful point. This book is awesome. I mean, most of your work, is used around the world, really. But this book is really going to enlighten, education in terms of understanding Black learning styles. Now, the book, I understand, just came out. It's just been published.
Yes, it was just released Friday. Hopefully, the Shrine of Black Madonna now has their copies. I know that Amazon has theirs, but if there's any difficulty with your listeners, they can simply go to our website, AfricanAmericanImages.com, or they can call us at 800-552-1991. And there's a 30% discount and free shipping if they order more than 1 copy.
Okay, let me have the website again and the phone number.
It's AfricanAmericanImages.com.
Okay.
Or the toll-free number 800-552-1991. And if they mention your name and the call letters of the radio station, it's 30% discount and free shipping if they order more than 1.
Okay.